Your dog has done it 100 times. Maybe 1,000. They walk over to you, circle once or twice, drop down beside your feet or press against your leg, and then they let out this long, slow breath. That sigh. You've heard it so many times it barely registers anymore. You probably smiled the first time you noticed it, thought how cute, and moved on. Most people assume it means the dog is tired. Maybe a little bored. Ready to wind down for the night. And that feels right, doesn't it? It fits. Dogs sleep a lot. They rest. A sigh before sleep makes total sense to the human brain. But here's the thing, behavioral scientists who study canine communication have found that a dog's sigh is rarely just about physical fatigue. It shows up in moments that have nothing to do with sleep. It happens after reunions, during long afternoon cuddles, in the middle of quiet evenings. It happens when your dog is completely awake and watching you. It happens sometimes when they've been waiting, and it sounds almost identical to the sigh a person makes when they're slightly frustrated. And that difference? That tiny distinction in what triggers the sigh? It changes everything about what your dog is actually telling you. 1. What you probably think is happening the moment your dog sighs is that they're physically winding down, muscles relaxing, breath slowing, system powering off like a phone going to sleep mode. And honestly, that's not entirely wrong. You've done it yourself without noticing. You walk through your front door after a difficult day, drop your bag, and something in your chest just opens. That exhale isn't a decision. It's a release. Your body registered that the tension was over, and it responded without asking permission. Dogs do the exact same thing, for the exact same reason. But here's what most people miss, that reset isn't triggered by tiredness alone. It's triggered by a shift in emotional state. The body sighs when vigilance drops. When something in the nervous system receives a signal that says, "We are safe here." The body sighs when tension releases. When vigilance drops. When the nervous system receives a signal that says, "We are safe here." So when your dog sighs next to you, the question isn't just are they tired? The real question is, what just changed in how they feel? And the answer to that is something most dog owners have never stopped to ask. 2. You've probably assumed that your dog lies down next to you out of habit. They've done it since they were a puppy. They like warmth. They like the smell of you. And that's all true. But what researchers studying canine attachment behavior have documented is that the location of where a dog chooses to rest carries specific emotional information. A 2015 study published in the journal Applied Animal Behavior Science found that dogs consistently positioned themselves closer to their primary caregiver during periods of mild stress or environmental uncertainty, and that proximity to the owner measurably reduced cortisol levels in the dog's blood. In other words, lying down next to you isn't just comfort seeking in a vague, generic sense. It's an active co-regulation strategy. Your dog is using your presence the way a child uses a parent's nearness, not because they can't function without you, but because your proximity signals safety to their nervous system. And that sigh that follows? That's the body registering that the strategy worked. The tension dropped. The threat assessment came back negative. That exhale isn't the beginning of sleep, it's the sound of relief arriving. 3. Here's a contrast that surprises almost every dog owner when they first hear it. You probably think your dog's sigh sounds the same whether they're content or mildly annoyed. And the truth is, you're almost right, and that's exactly what makes it so easy to misread. Behaviorists and trainers who work with canine body language draw a clear distinction between two types of sighs based on eye position at the moment of the exhale. A sigh paired with eyes that are half closed or fully closed tends to indicate emotional contentment. The dog is settled, calm, processing a positive state. A sigh paired with eyes that remain open and directed at you or toward a point of interest, especially after an unmet expectation, like you sitting down without giving them attention or stopping a play session, is more likely to signal mild frustration or low-level disappointment. It's not aggression. It's not distress. But it is communication. Your dog has just told you something specific. Turid Ruggeaes, the Norwegian dog behaviorist who pioneered the study of calming signals in dogs, includes sighing in her catalogue of expressive behaviors, noting that context and accompanying body language are everything. So next time you hear that breath, check the eyes. The sigh is the sentence. The eyes tell you which one. 4. Most dog owners interpret their dog's sigh during physical contact, when you're petting them, when they're resting a head on your lap, as simply enjoying the touch. And they're not wrong. But there's a layer underneath that most people never see. Research into oxytocin release in dogs during human interaction, particularly the landmark work done by Miho Nagasaki and her team at Asabu University in Japan, showed that physical contact between dogs and their owners triggers measurable oxytocin release in both species simultaneously. The dog's brain responds to the contact with a hormonal cascade that mirrors what happens between bonded humans. And here's where the sigh becomes remarkable. Oxytocin increases feelings of safety, trust, and emotional closeness, and one of the documented physiological responses to an oxytocin surge is a longer, slower exhale. The sigh isn't just a sound your dog makes while you pet them. It may actually be the audible trace of a bonding hormone doing its work. Your dog isn't just relaxing. Their brain is releasing the same chemistry that deepens human relationships, and their body is exhaling in response to it. That breath is not passive. It is, in its own biological way, an act of love. 5. Here's the contrast most people never consider, because it requires thinking about your dog's emotional life across the arc of an entire day rather than just in the moment. You've likely noticed your dog sighing more on some days than others, quieter evenings, slow weekends, days when you worked from home. You might have chalked it up to the weather, or your dog's mood, or just random variation. But what animal behavior research suggests is that sigh frequency in dogs is closely tied to accumulated emotional arousal throughout the day. Dogs who have had high stimulation days, long walks, visitors, trips to new environments, play sessions, carry residual neurological activation for hours afterward. Their baseline arousal stays elevated even when the stimulating event is long over. The sigh, particularly the extended exhale in a quiet setting beside their person, appears to function as a discharge mechanism, a way for the nervous system to process and release stored arousal that has nowhere else to go. It's not unlike what humans do when they sit down after a demanding day and finally let themselves breathe. Your dog sighing on a calm evening isn't them being lazy or tuning out. They are, in a very real physiological sense, recovering, and they're choosing to do it next to you. 6. And now, the thing this video has been building toward. The one observation that reframes everything you've just learned. You've thought about the sigh as a sound your dog makes. A small, familiar exhale you've heard so often you stopped really hearing it. But consider this: dogs do not sigh randomly. They don't do it alone in empty rooms. They don't do it facing walls or in the middle of the yard, mid-run. The sigh, almost without exception in healthy, bonded dogs, happens in relational context. In proximity to a person they trust. After eye contact. After being touched. After waiting for you and finally seeing you settle. What that tells us, when you pull together everything behavioral science has documented about canine sighing, is that the sigh is not primarily a physiological event that happens to occur near you. It is a relational signal that requires your presence to be triggered. Your dog doesn't just sigh because they're tired. They sigh because you're there. Because you're close. Because something in their nervous system recognizes that this, right here, right now, beside you, is where they feel most like themselves. That breath isn't an ending. It's a statement. And it has been waiting for you to understand it. If this video changed the way you hear that sound, the one that used to mean nothing and now means everything, please hit the like button. It takes 1 second and it helps more people find their way to their dogs the way you just did. Subscribe to Pet Whispers so you don't miss what's coming next, because we are just getting started with the things your dog has been trying to tell you. And turn on the notification bell, because some of these videos are exactly the ones you'll want to watch the moment they drop. One question for the comments: does your dog sigh more when you're calm and still, or does it happen right after you come home? Tell me below. I read every single one.